Welcome to Mastering Life's Adventures, an educational podcast about tapping into your true self, the soul, your soul, the substance of your life, to discover what life's ups and downs are really about, and how to have a greater sense of purpose, peace, joy, and fulfillment. I am Dr. Judith Holder, your host, coach psychologist, fellow seeker who enjoys diving into the connections between spirituality, psychology, wellness, and your everyday life's adventures. All preparing and polishing you like the facets of a magnificent diamond to be your best self. If you're craving more from your life, you are in the right place. Come, let's journey together and transforming what you know into who you really are. Mastering Life's Adventures begins now.
Have you ever sighed? Why is this happening again? Why is this same behavior or type of person keeps on showing up in my life? What's up? It could be at a new job that you're at, yet the same conflict walks and wearing a different name, or a new relationship begins, and somehow the same ache sits down beside you. I want to suggest something comforting and empowering. When life repeats, it isn't random. It is the soul's classroom. The same exam lands on your desk because you are ready to learn the lesson, not because you are being punished. I am back to talk about another simple key in soul progress. And this is about repeating patterns in the classroom of life and how our thoughts, feelings, words, and deeds are like answers we've written before. If an answer was born from fear or confusion, that energy circles back as a similar question so you can choose a truer response. I think we've all had them, regardless of where we are in our life. Now I'm asking you to perk up and think, why does this keep on going on? Not in frustration, but in curiosity. Because we know these things keep happening, so we can choose a better response, the most helpful response, an aligned response. Psychologically, our nervous system stores patterns to protect. And spiritually, there is a wise law of cause and effect. And what goes out comes back to us. It returns that which is unfinished, that we still need to learn from. Or it brings it to the surface with loving precision. We get tests in the school of life and the classroom of life, whether we're aware of it or not, but it's sure better to be more aware. We get tests. And the exam reappears not to shame you, but to graduate you, to move from grade to grade, and ultimately not being in any grade. So let me talk with you about Elizabeth. She is bright, conscientious, and has worked at 3 different companies. She seems to gravitate to, like a magnet. She gravitates to these types of controlling supervisors. What's up with that? Have you ever asked yourself when you have that type of micromanaging type of person in your world at work? I think more people than not have that. There's certain lessons to be learned. But it's easy to conclude, I have terrible luck, or I just have a terrible boss. But when we sat with our story, you may start to come to the surface when we really want to know, because we have to be able to ask in a sincere and true way that I want to see this. Why does this keep on happening? We're asking our inner self. We're asking, imploring for guidance. We're asking Jesus, our I am presence, the Creator, to help us see the light, to see what's really going on. For Elizabeth, a 12-year-old memory surfaced when she asked for guidance and help. She spoke up in class and was mocked for talking back. In that moment, she wrote an answer she would keep hanging in for years to come. Stay small to stay safe. Stay small to stay safe. Life kept placing the authoritative type of person in her life, the authority question on her desk, until she chose a new answer. The spiritual significance here is profound. The soul was inviting her to consecrate her voice, not to be combative, but to embody dignity and truth in speech. It was asking her to speak up in honor and to speak up in a way that allows other people to hear and understand her perspective. The classroom didn't change the teachers, it changed the student. Why do these repeating patterns feel so sticky? At a psychological level, once the body associates a cue, a frown, a tone, a certain posture with danger or threat, it shortcuts to the old answer before our higher mind arrives. We also carry identity momentums. If we have survived by being the helpful one or the quiet one, we keep handing in the same answer. We keep staying in the same answer, even when it costs us. And spiritually, we don't always think about this, but there's an inner vows and bargains that we're making. I won't shine. My knees are a burden. Keep creating our choices from the shadows. These are shadow thoughts and shadow momentums. I won't shine. Why not? The Christ, the God, the Atman, your soul is here to shine. My knees are a burden. Is that true? You've heard me ask you to say this to yourself before. Is that true? You say, no, not really. My needs are just as important as other people's needs. But what happens is we are kept creating our choices from the shadows, as I said. And we don't want to be in the shadows. When our love overruns wisdom, we overgive. Did you hear what I said? We can overly do things. We can overly love. But it's usually of the degree of human love. But there's something called divine love, which is never over the top. I'll talk about that in a future episode. As we're thinking about these things, be aware that we can overgive our love. And when power overruns love, we move into control. There needs to be a balance through the power that exists around us, the wisdom of our thoughts and our awareness that we've gained through knowledge, and also of the divine love. But many of us are in the human aspects of love. And that's why I said I'd probably do a podcast on divine love. But when it's overrun, we're doing too much, we're not doing it for the right reasons. But in this case, when power overruns love, we control. The repeating exam presses us toward balance. Love guided by wisdom, strength softened by compassion, truth carried by kindness. There's a simple map I use after any hard moment, and they are looking at trigger, choice, energy, result, and review. We often rush past the review, but that is where grace meets understanding. I ask, what belief, which virtue is this exam trying to teach? Truth, patience, stewardship, forgiveness. In the review, the soul shows us how to study differently next time. If we're not taking the time when these things come up and look at them through the lens of triggers, the choices I made, the energy, the results, and reviewing those things, then we tend to continue to make the same mistakes again and again. But from a soul perspective, they're looked as opportunities to continue to grow. Here's an example that shows how we can change our answer in real time. Let's go with Jonah. Just kind of a person, a name coming out of the hat here. Is competent and kind, yet consistently overlooked for leadership roles. In meetings, quietly takes the notes, volunteers to support, and then resents being invisible afterwards. The same exam keeps landing on his desk. Will you steward your gifts openly? And in this next meeting, Jonah chooses brave. B-R-A-V-E, because that's what we need to be at times. We need to be brave and move past these impulses of the past and situations that have happened to us that try to shape how we're going to show up now. So with brave approach, as a single flowing response, he begins by taking 2 deep breaths so his body knows the classroom is safe. Then he gently remembers his worth, not as ego, but as stewardship of the gifts his Creator has given him. His abilities were entrusted to him for service. From that grounded place, he asserts a clear ask at the right moment. He asks his inner self, he asks his soul, what do I need to say here? I'm being brave. I'm being different. I am honoring my talents and my gifts. What comes up for him is a clear moment when it may feel risky, but he moves forward. And he says, I can lead the rollout. Or I can lead the rollout for phase 2. I've mapped milestones and risks and would love to present after the break. He keeps his voice steady and brief, resisting the urge to over-explain. That's important. Be simple, be clear, make the point. When a senior colleague tries to move on, Jonas closes the exchange kindly but firmly. No worries. If now isn't ideal, I'll send the plan this afternoon and check back Friday. Notice the movement here. He withdraws consent from the old bargain, which is I'm safest when unseen, and writes a new answer. I serve best when I stand where I'm assigned. The room felt different, yes, but more importantly, Jonah felt different. It's the real graduation. The more he does it, the more he finds his soul can speak with him. He's creating the space, he's being brave, and he's willing to try new behavior. Here's another quick story from the same type of classroom analogy. Tara keeps falling in love with partners who she feels compelled to fix. She wonders why she ends up drained, feeling beside herself, and disappointed. Psychologically, she's soothing anxious attachment by managing others' chaos. Spiritually, her compassion is outrunning her wisdom. The reoccurring exam is asking her to distinguish mercy from enabling. And when she studies for the test, her newer sounds like, I will love you and respect your will. I will help at the pace that you want me to. The moment those words leave her mouth, the pattern loses its hold because the lesson has been learned. Whether she's working on it, because God doesn't mean, because we work a spiritual path, it doesn't mean that God's not going to test us. He is. He's going to ask us to make sure we don't have any residual left of that old pattern that has kept showing up in the past. So hers is related to wanting to fix people. She has to let go of that. People have free will. If people have not invited her into asking for help by saying, can you help me with understanding what's going on here? Then she has to be conscious and intentional about, do I give feedback or I don't give feedback in my personal relationship? Or how do I stop attracting the same type of person by what do I need to do and fill in my spaces and understand what this lesson is going on for me? How do we study between exams? Sometimes this lesson keeps on coming up, but there's usually spaces. In the spaces, how do we study? I invite you into a gentle practice that fits in the margins of daily life. When a pattern flares, step out for 60 seconds and breathe. Name the belief. What belief is going on here? That's from the past, usually, that's trying to write this belief, this answer for me. Offer that belief to the highest light. Offer it to your I am presence. Offer it to your soul, and the auspice of your soul is the Christ, Jesus. Offer it to Jesus. Offer it to your Creator. You're always working to improve the relationship you have with your spiritual connection, your higher self. Be silent. Listen. And ask to be taught the higher way, the better way. One truthful sentence you will speak next time the answer appears. That sentence is your new study guide. Write it down when you've heard your inner self tell you what you need to do, or you get a prompting, or it comes up in a book that you've read on some type of spiritual matter. Write it down. Rehearse it once out loud so your voice remembers. And the next time the bell rings, you won't be scrambling. You'll be ready. Because your higher self may say, with this particular situation, just be quiet. Or it may say, you need to say something. In this particular type of relationship, you may need to say, this behavior is unacceptable to me. I love you. I appreciate you, but it's something that I don't want to continue to have in my world. I would like to talk about if there's something we can change that you're willing to change, and if there's something you would like for me to think about changing, then let's do it. But to continuously do whatever A is not something that I want to continue with. You're not here to fix people. You're here to have conversations with them to see if they want to make an active choice, take an active stance to be different, to be their best self. So the next time that bell rings, you won't be scrambling. You'll be ready. And you know that you're graduating by grade level with inner peace, showing up without panic. Even when there is panic, our recovery time is shortened. Our awareness, our intention is being more fine-tuned. We are more graced to listen to that substance of our life, the soul. We're more willing to listen to the inner promptings of our call to Jesus or the masters or the I Am Presence to give us guidance and direction, and willing to take the space to listen. And as your recovery time is becoming shortened because you're learning the lessons, you learn to make wiser choices, even under pressure. This is not about perfection. It's about fidelity to the lesson. And every time you choose the higher answer, something beautiful happens. The classroom changes around you because the student within you has changed. So, this simple key today that we've been talking about is strong. That repeating patterns or life's curriculum is not life's cruelty. Welcome the exam. Review your answers with honesty, integrity, and love. And let your soul move to the next level. Something to think about. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining me for this episode on Mastering Life's Adventures, being your best self through soul evolution. If you have enjoyed what you've heard today, I would be delighted if you would share this episode with others, leave a thumbs up, and subscribe to my Mastering Life's Adventures podcast. Look forward to your joining the next episode. Please leave any comments or suggestions you might have below. Bye for now.